What's up guys, welcome back and welcome to a fuel filter change on the Honda FRV 2.2 diesel, aka the Mrs. Battle Bus. That's the new fuel filter, and the new one is buried right in the back of there. So that's got to come off, airbox has got to come out, and then the bracket that the fuel filter is on has got to come out. So first of all, let's get that out. That looks like a 10 or a 12. Right, we've undone a few bits. Everything's a 10mm so far. That's a 10mm, that's all loose. That's 10mm on there, and there was a 10mm at the back, and that's come loose. Don't even know what that is, but it's in the way. So now the only thing that's holding that in are these plugs. So I'll get them off in a minute. And then right at the back there, that's actually a 6mm, and that's actually a bit tricky to get to. And then once that's off, then that pipe just pulls off the back of the airbox. I'm going to try and do it without taking the battery out. The only thing that's getting a bit tricky at the moment is I've got to take this bottom air intake feed off. So we'll have a go. Okay, once you pull this motor back a little bit, you can get to that plug which is on the top of the airbox, and that plug which is on the fuel pump here, and then just pry these little cable clip things off, and then that whole thing just lifts completely out of the way. However, I can now see where the fuel pump thing is, but I can't get to it without getting this airbox out. Let's give it a no. Right, I couldn't do it with the battery in, and I wish I'd taken it out before. As all these things, you think you're going to do it and save a load of time, but actually it took me about 2 minutes. 12mm on there, 12mm on the clamp thing the other side, which is over here. Literally that just gets the battery out and then lift up, and then 10mm on there, 10mm on there, whole battery comes out. Then you can get to the bottom hose, which literally it's probably been on there. I don't think this fuel filter's ever been changed. So the pipe was on there a little bit tight, so just get a screwdriver from both sides. Just kind of, it kind of like sticks to it a little bit, so you just got to try and break the seal. That then pops off. The hardest bit was getting this out, and basically, I winched it, wiggled it, all sorts of stuff. I thought I could try and get to it from the inside of the air filter box, but I couldn't. And then basically I ended up using a pry bar underneath and just popped it off at the back, because once it's out, which hopefully I can get it out one-handed, clobber, 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 it just sits on those two locating lugs, which are at the back. So with a bit of swearing and a few bits of knuckle missing on all this paraphernalia around here, I managed to get it out. Now that massive lump of plastic is out of the way, then we can get to the fuel filter. All I can see so far is two 10mm at the back, which I won't be able to get to with a ratchet. We'll have to get to with a spanner. I lied. There's a 2 around the back there. Don't know what they look like. 12mm, I don't know. And that looks like it's attached to all that bracket. I couldn't actually see that without my phone. It's literally tucked right around the back there. So I'm going to put 12mm on a little extension bar, see if that fits. Right, it's a 10mm, and also take that plug off the top there. I take this plug off the bottom there, because you're a little bit more room, but it's basically blind, and yeah, but it's coming. Right, it's off. That was a faff. So that's the 2 screws that it goes on. Let me give that a squirt of a bit of GT for when it has to go back on again. Top tip, if you've got a can of brake cleaner, use this little like nozzly thing, because if the GT85 one just comes with like a wide spray or a straw nozzle that's about 5 inches long, and then as soon as you try and poke it in anyway, it just like pops off straight away. So I'll put that on, and as you can see, it's pretty accurate at range. Right, next job is get those 2 pipes off the top. That's just with a pair of like pointy pliers, and then we'll have her out. Right, I've brought the whole assembly to the vise because I'm too old to be working on the floor. So what I've done is, first of all, this bracket thing sits on the top, and there's 2 for 10mm. Take that bracket off. Once that bracket comes off, there's 2 12mm in there. Once the 12mm come out, this whole thing is loose, and you can lift it out, and your filter's in there, which is looking pretty rusty, and it may even be the original one. However, before I do that, before it'll lift all the way out, this pipe is on here, so either take that off or just unscrew that, which I've started to unscrew it and it's starting to leak already. So I'm going to undo that, get diesel all over myself and the phone and the workbench, and then see what sort of mess I'm in a minute. Right, this is what actually went down. There's a tab on the back of that which you can't see, but I took it out of the vise so you can see it. There's a tab on the back of that. That pulls off of there, and then the whole thing lifts out, and then diesel absolutely pours because that whole thing is totally full up with diesel, so it's pouring out. So you will get covered in diesel and diesel everywhere. And then in the box is a new fill filter and like a rubber thing here, which I'm guessing once I finish taking that all the way off in there. So I'm going to replace that rubber seal, put it back in, fill it back up with diesel. Oh mate, it's absolutely pouring out. But before I do any of that, I'm going to go and have some lunch. Oh mate, I've literally just chucking it all over myself. Right, that is a manky looking diesel coming out of there. That was literally, I'll give it a shake and that's a load of brown. So, right, I'm actually going to end the video there because the opposite is how you put it all back together. So I'm going to replace the rubber seal on the cap there, put that back in there, get that, probably put that in a vise somehow and get a big pair of pliers on that and undo that out of the housing, screw the new one in. In fact, while it's upright, fill it up with diesel and then screw the new one in, because otherwise you're just going to crank it over and you're going to get a massive airlock. So fill that with diesel and then put it all back together. Well, I'm going to go and get some lunch because it's way past lunchtime and I smell like diesel. Like, subscribe and all that sort of stuff, and I'll see you on the next one. Bonus tip, once you put all this back together again, it'll crank over and it probably won't fire. This is the fuel filter primer. Literally just keep pushing that, get all the air out of it, and then it cranks over maybe 2 or 3 times and it fired straight away. So make sure you get all the air out of the system with that.